Hello and welcome to the tier list. We are ranking characters from the Titanfall 2 campaign and putting them into this totally epic and super awesome tier list with no bias or preference in the slightest. This tier list will be going from worst to best, and the best person to start with would be Richter. I mean, let's be honest, Richter is by far the most shallow and forgettable character in all of Titanfall 2. The only time you see him in the game is during his boss fight, as well as at the very beginning of the game, which his boss fight's stupid easy. Even a 3-year-old could beat his boss. I mean, a Tone Titan in the big 25, what are we doing? During his boss battle, he starts off the fight with sending in a few little titans before you actually get to fight him. And I mean, it kind of feels like busy work. They're just throwing stuff at you, you know. Oh, look at this, a Ronin. Ooh, scary. When you finally do face Richter, it's really underwhelming. It's not really a challenge and not really any memorable mechanics. It's just a bland fight when it comes down to it. Richter fails in pretty much every department: personality, impact on the story, and even as a boss fight, really. For a guy who's supposed to be intimidating, it's just a snooze fest. You're just sleeping throughout the whole thing without really any hesitation. Richter lands easily in F tier where he belongs. Blisk and Sloan. I'm grouping them together because, let's be honest, they're pretty much the same characters who do the same stuff. Where do I even begin? I hate Blisk and Sloan with every fiber of my being for what they did to BT. So while you're trying to steal the Ark, your plane crashes that you're in, you wake up dazed, only to realize that you have been captured by the Apex Predators. No, not Dream. These guys. Blisk, Sloan, previously mentioned, Richter, Viper, Kane, and Ash. As you come to your senses, Blisk himself is interrogating you, demanding that you open BT's cockpit and hand over the fold weapons core. Obviously, you refuse because you're not going to give the bad guys the super weapon. But Blisk, very angry man he is, he does not take no for an answer. So he just pulls a gun on you, like you do. So BT does the reasonable thing and opens up his cockpit, because what is he gonna do? Not uphold Protocol 3? But oh, Blisk fell for the trap. So after they survive BT's attack and they get the core that they wanted, what do? Sloan, this cold-hearted, evil monster, murders BT in cold blood. Like, why? What did BT do to deserve this besides trying to kill your boss? For this unforgivable act of my boy BT, I was jumping for joy when we killed Sloan at the end. Both Sloan and Blisk earn a well-deserved spot on F tier. I hate them. Next up, Ash. At the ripe young age of 122, is also featured in Apex Legends. Ash is in charge of overseeing a massive underground facility where she has captured BT using a giant pair of pinchers after BT said he knew a shortcut, eventually finding herself in a massive simulation dome where she traps you in a game of COD Zombies. And guys, let me tell you, I was shaking in my boots when I found out there were Reapers in there. You were able to escape and link back up with BT. Leading up to your 1v1 with Ash, the fight itself, it's not difficult. Like, it's pretty easy and just squash her with BT's hands. And it's kind of brutal if you ask me, but hey, I mean, that's what you get for kidnapping BT. Despite having really good character design and the fun mission that led up to her, Ash's overall presence in the story and her death is really short-lived, and she's never really mentioned again afterwards and doesn't have anything that really forwards the plot, in my opinion. This makes it feel like a throwaway character that they could have used later in the story, but I do understand why the devs quote-unquote killed her so early, but not really. She's in Apex Legends. I just feel like the lack of weight behind her character as well as her death leaves her at D tier, so I think that's pretty fair to say. Skipping through C tier and straight to B tier, Ty Lastimosa. Lastimosa was the guy who led us through the tutorial and taught the player how to use the basic pilot kit. He showed us pretty cool stuff like the wall run and double jump. While you were finishing up the tutorial, you had been rudely interrupted by the pesky IMC forces on the planet below. As you're falling towards the planet, you see Jack Cooper's face, and I mean, look at the guy. Does it look like he's having a fun time? You were put right in the middle of a war zone. So with your discombobulated self, you hobble over to an area that seems a little too open. All of a sudden, a Titan out of nowhere comes and tries to kill you. But fortunately, our hero, Lastimosa, comes in just in time to save the day. And his very own Titan BT. As Lastimosa was saving us, he was unable to clutch the 3v1, making the sacrifice to save us the player over himself. So after we fall asleep in our little log that we were put in, we wake up the next morning and go check out the Titan from the left behind fight. We open the hatch and Lastimosa falls face first out of the cockpit, and in Lastimosa's final breaths, he offers his helmet and jump pack in order to give us a fighting chance in this war. Unfortunately, that's the last time we see of Lastimosa. So between teaching us how to be a pilot and sacrificing himself to protect us, he's pretty great, but he didn't clutch the 3v1. So I think it's fair to say that Lastimosa is in B tier. Sarah Briggs. Sarah Briggs is the commander of the Frontier Militia, where she is fighting against the IMC for the sake of revenge for her loved ones who had been forcibly relocated. She felt she had the right and remove you from your beloved BT, but thankfully, being the GOAT insisted we stay as his pilot. So Briggs reluctantly allowed you to stay with BT for a little longer. After letting us stay, we follow Briggs into the mission Trial by Fire, where we are ejected out of the ship after Briggs gives us a little pep talk. We are tasked with raiding the base in order to capture the fold weapon. Unfortunately, we were unable to get the fold weapon, just barely missing the ship carrying it. So our only option was a take to the skies in the next mission, the Ark, where we need to break into the ship, where Briggs let us do all the hard work where she watched from her little dropship in the sky. At the end of the day, I feel that she was a pretty cool character that played a really important role, so I think B tier suits her really well. In A tier, love him or hate him, Kane! You can't deny that he's pretty great, like, especially his attitude, like...
If you're fighting for the IMC, I can't do this alone. At least I don't think I can do this alone. Which is why all you IMC broads down there need to pull your damn weight!
Kane is in charge of the water treatment facility and a kick-ass Scorch Titan. Kane, being the badass he is, killed several pilots before you, and in fact, when you first see him in the boss room, he is squishing one in front of you. Reminds me of somebody. Ash. During the fight, you're against Papa Scorch, and I mean, just look at the Titan. That Titan just looks badass. During the fight, it's like fighting a cripple who's half blind. I mean, it's because he is. Just look at his eye. It's gone white like a geriatric grandpa who has cataracts. So after you beat Kane in a fiery explosion, you're able to rob him of his radio, letting you eavesdrop on the IMC comms for the rest of the game's campaign. I think Kane should be an A tier. I think that's a fair assessment to make, you know? I know, a few of you are wondering where Viper is. Well, I think now is a time for any talk about him, since we are now in S tier. So you first see Viper at the third mission. You first see Viper at the third to last mission of the game, where he protect and escort the Ark. In his intro sequence, it just sends shivers down my spine. It's like, look, just take a look.
Voodoo 1, Viper's on station. Your journey ends here, pilot. The skies belong to me. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
And it is a real shame that you have to kill him, but at least he is gone down as one of, if not the best boss fights in the game. And I love how when you think you won originally, he comes back for round 2 as a last ditch attempt to win. And I have to give it to the guy. I mean, he's one of the only people to do so much damage to BT, being able to take off one of his arms. And I feel just from vibes alone and how much aura he just gives off, I think he should get the S tier. Next up, BT. Simply put it, I love BT. He has been the only character, all of my hours, all of my games, that I have grown attached to like him. Between the friendship you two build over the course of the campaign and his iconic catchphrase, "Trust me," how can anyone not love BT? EA did an amazing job building his character and making him truly lovable. And spoiler alert, during his death, he's sacrificing himself to destroy the fold weapon. I cried. I'm gonna be honest. I cried. Only time I've cried playing video games. And so I'd love to keep rambling on about BT, but long story short. But hey, that's my take on it. And if you want to leave a comment below on how you do it or make any changes, please make sure you do that. And also, this took me a really long time to make, so it would mean the world to me if you were able to like and subscribe.